I found the pregnancy test in the trash where I'd thrown it this morning, sitting on top of the bathroom counter now with a sticky note that read, "Check again in a week." My husband hadn't been home when I left for work, but clearly he'd come back. The negative test stared up at me like evidence in a trial I didn't know I was part of, and my hands started shaking so badly I had to grip the sink. This had been going on for 8 days now. 8 days since Mark decided I was pregnant despite every piece of reality screaming otherwise. 8 days of him talking to my flat stomach, buying prenatal vitamins I didn't ask for, and texting me articles about first trimester nutrition. I'd laughed it off at first, thought maybe he was joking, testing the waters about starting a family. But the look in his eyes when I laughed made my stomach drop. He was serious. Completely, utterly serious. I picked up my phone and called him, straight to voicemail, again. The apartment felt different now, charged with something I couldn't name. I walked into the kitchen and stopped dead. On the counter sat a bag from the baby store downtown. My heart hammered as I looked inside. A tiny yellow onesie, so small it looked unreal. The receipt showed he'd bought it during his lunch break. $43 for a piece of clothing meant for a baby that didn't exist. I needed to talk to someone. My best friend Sarah picked up on the second ring. "He bought baby clothes," I said without preamble. "Sarah, he actually went to a store and bought baby clothes." "Okay, that's it. You need to talk to his parents, or get him to a doctor. This isn't normal, Jess." I know it's not normal, but what do I say? "Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Chen, your son thinks I'm pregnant when I'm not and won't accept reality? They'll think I'm the crazy one." Then what's your plan? Just let him keep living in this fantasy? I didn't have an answer. The front door opened before I could formulate one. Mark walked in carrying groceries, his face lighting up when he saw me. "Hey, babe, I got those crackers you like. Good for morning sickness." "Mark." I set my phone down, Sarah still on the line. "I'm not pregnant. We need to talk about this." His smile faltered. "You're still saying that?" "Because it's true. I took another test this morning. Negative, like the 5 before it." "Tests can be wrong." He started unpacking groceries, movements jerky. "My mom had 3 negative tests before one finally showed positive with my sister. That's not what's happening here." "How do you know?" He spun around, and something in his eyes made me take a step back. Not anger exactly, something more unsettling. Certainty. Absolute, unshakable certainty. How do you know what's happening in your own body? Sometimes women don't realize for months. "I would know if I was pregnant, Mark." "Would you?" He moved closer, and I found myself backing up against the counter. "Because you've been tired. You said so yourself. And you've been emotional." "I'm emotional because my husband is acting like a stranger." He flinched like I'd slapped him. The grocery bag slipped from his hands, oranges rolling across the kitchen floor. For a moment, we just stared at each other across a distance that felt like miles. "I'm not acting like a stranger," he said quietly. "I'm acting like a father." The words hung in the air between us, heavy and wrong. I felt Sarah's presence through the phone, silent witness to whatever this was becoming. "I'm going to stay at Sarah's tonight," I heard myself say. "We both need space." "No!" The word came out sharp, desperate. "You can't. What if something happens? What if you need something?" "Nothing's going to happen, Mark, because I'm not pregnant." I grabbed my phone and purse, heading for the bedroom to pack a bag. He followed, standing in the doorway as I threw clothes into an overnight bag. "When did you start hating me?" he asked, and his voice cracked. "When did the idea of having a baby with me become so terrible that you deny it's happening?" I stopped, a shirt clutched in my hands. "This isn't about hating you. This is about you not listening to me, not believing me. I can't be pregnant, Mark. It's not possible." "Why not? We're married. We're not using protection." "We've been careful. We agreed to wait another year." "But not perfect. Nothing's perfect." He ran his hands through his hair, a gesture I'd always found endearing. Now it just looked frantic. "I know you're scared. I get it. This wasn't the plan. But we can do this, Jess. We can handle it." "There's nothing to handle." I zipped the bag with more force than necessary. I'm going to Sarah's. When I come back tomorrow, we're making an appointment with a doctor. Both of us. I don't need a doctor. Yes, you do. I pushed past him, his cologne washing over me, familiar and foreign at once, because something is very wrong. I made it to the front door before he spoke again. If you leave, you're putting our baby at risk. I turned slowly. He stood in the hallway, backlit by the bedroom light, and his face was pale, dead serious. There is no baby, Mark. There is. His voice dropped to barely a whisper. I know there is. I can feel it. I left without another word, the sound of his voice following me down the stairs. In my car, I finally let myself shake. Sarah was still on the line. I heard all that, she said. Come over, now. The drive to Sarah's apartment passed in a blur. My phone buzzed with texts from Mark every few minutes, reminders to take it easy, questions about what I wanted for dinner tomorrow, links to articles about pregnancy denial, each message more surreal than the last. Sarah met me at her door with wine, then remembered and put it away. Sorry, force of habit. I can drink, I'm not pregnant. But saying it out loud to someone who believed me made my eyes burn with tears I'd been holding back. We sat on her couch and I told her everything. The sticky note, the baby clothes, the look in his eyes like he was seeing something I couldn't. This started a week ago? Sarah asked. Just suddenly? Basically, I mentioned being tired one day, and a few hours later he came home acting like I'd told him I was pregnant. Has he been stressed at work? Any major changes? I thought about it. He's been getting headaches, bad ones. He's been taking a lot of ibuprofen. Headaches? Sarah's expression shifted. Jess, has he been acting strange in other ways? Forgetting things? Personality changes? I don't know. Maybe? He's been more emotional, but I thought that was about the baby thing. What if it's not? Sarah grabbed her laptop. What if the baby thing is a symptom of something else? I watched her type, dread building in my stomach. She turned the screen toward me. Articles about brain tumors. Symptoms including delusions, personality changes, severe headaches, behavioral shifts. No, I said. That's too extreme. He's just stressed or having some kind of breakdown. Or he's actually sick. Sarah's voice was gentle but firm. You said his behavior changed suddenly. That's not normal stress, Jess. Stress doesn't make you hallucinate a pregnancy. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Mark. Are you eating enough? The baby needs protein. I stared at the words until they blurred. Could Sarah be right? The thought of something physically wrong with Mark's brain was terrifying in a different way than his delusion. At least a delusion could be reasoned with eventually. A tumor was concrete, dangerous, real. I'll try to get him to a doctor, I said. Tomorrow, somehow. Want me to come with you? No, this is something I need to do alone. I slept terribly on Sarah's couch, phone clutched in my hand in case Mark called. He didn't. The texts continued through the night, time-stamped at odd hours. 2 a.m, can't sleep, too excited about our future. 4, started looking at cribs. There's so much to do. 5:30, I love you both so much. I gave up on sleep at 6 and headed home. The apartment was dark when I arrived, and for a moment I thought Mark had already left for work. Then I heard water running in the bathroom. Mark, I called out, we need to talk. The water shut off. He emerged in his work clothes, hair damp, looking almost normal. Almost. You came back, he said, and his smile was so genuinely happy it hurt. I live here, but we need to talk about seeing a doctor. Sure, I'll call today and make you an appointment. Not for me, for you. I kept my voice steady. For both of us, I'm worried about you, Mark. His smile faded. There's nothing wrong with me. You've been having headaches, bad ones, and this thing with the pregnancy, it started so suddenly. Because you got pregnant suddenly, that's how it works. Mark, please. I moved closer, reaching for his hand. He let me take it, his fingers cold despite the hot shower. Just humor me. One doctor's visit. We'll both go. If the doctor says everything's fine, I'll drop it. And you'll stop denying the baby? The question was a trap. I saw it in his eyes, the way he was calculating. If I said yes, I'd be validating the delusion. If I said no, he wouldn't go. Let's just see what the doctor says. I hedged. Please, for me. He pulled his hand away. You still don't believe me. I believe you believe it, but Mark, 6 pregnancy tests don't lie. My period came last week. I'm not showing any symptoms. There's no baby. Your period was light. That can happen in early pregnancy. How do you know it was light? The question came out sharper than I intended. Were you tracking it? His face closed off. I pay attention to you, to us, to our future. This isn't paying attention. This is an obsession. I grabbed my phone. I'm calling your mom. Don't. His voice went hard, in a way I'd never heard. Don't bring my parents into this. Someone needs to help you see reason. Reason? He laughed, bitter and wrong. The only one being unreasonable here is you. You're carrying our child and acting like it's nothing, like it doesn't matter. It doesn't exist, Mark. Stop saying that. He grabbed his briefcase, movements violent. Just stop. Every time you say it, you're rejecting our baby, rejecting me. If you can't see that, maybe you should stay at Sarah's. He left before I could respond, the door slamming hard enough to rattle the frames on the wall. I stood in the sudden silence, heart racing, and knew I couldn't do this alone anymore. I called his mother. Jessica, is everything all right? Mrs. Chen's voice was warm with concern, and I almost broke down right there. Instead, I took a breath and explained. The sudden conviction, the baby clothes, the refusal to accept reality, the headaches, all of it spilling out in a rush of words that sounded insane even to my own ears. She was quiet for a long time after I finished. How long has this been happening? She finally asked. About a week and a half now. And he's been having headaches? Yes, really bad ones. Another pause. Jessica, I need to tell you something. Mark's father had a brain tumor 10 years ago. It started with headaches and behavioral changes. They caught it early, removed it, and he's been fine since. But it can be hereditary. The world tilted sideways. I sat down hard on the couch, phone pressed so tight to my ear it hurt. You think Mark has a tumor? I think he needs to see a neurologist, today. I'm going to call our family doctor right now and get him an emergency referral. Her voice was steady, practical, the voice of someone who'd been through medical emergencies before. Can you get him there? I don't know. He just left for work, angry. I'll call him. I'll make him understand. Check your phone in 20 minutes. She hung up, and I sat in the too quiet apartment, processing. A tumor, something growing in Mark's brain, pressing on parts that controlled reality and behavior and everything that made him him. The delusion about the pregnancy wasn't a breakdown or stress. It was his brain physically malfunctioning. My phone rang. Mark. My mom called, he said, and he sounded tired, so tired. She thinks I need to see a doctor. Yes, she's getting you an appointment. You told her I was crazy? I told her I was worried, because I am, Mark. So worried. My voice cracked. Please, just do this, please. Silence stretched between us. Then, okay, but only if you come with me. Of course I'll come with you. And you'll admit that we need to be careful, that there might be a baby. Mark, please, Jess, just give me that. If I'm going to do this, if I'm going to let them poke around in my head, I need to know you're with me, that you're not just trying to prove I'm wrong. What could I say? If a small lie got him to a doctor, wasn't it worth it? I'll be careful, I said. Not quite agreement, but close enough. Thank you. Relief flooded his voice. The appointment's at 2. I'll pick you up at 1:30. He showed up exactly on time, looking nervous in a way that was more familiar than the certainty he'd been showing. We drove in silence, his hands tight on the wheel. I'm scared, he admitted as we pulled into the medical center parking lot. Me too. What if they don't find anything? What if I'm just losing my mind? Then we'll figure that out together. We checked in, filled out forms, waited. The neurologist was a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and no-nonsense demeanor. Dr. Patterson. She asked Mark questions, lots of them, about the headaches, when they started, how severe, about his work, stress levels, sleep patterns, and finally, about the pregnancy conviction. Mark explained it haltingly, glancing at me every few sentences, like he was checking to make sure I wasn't contradicting him. How he just knew, how certain he felt, how wrong it seemed that I couldn't feel it too. Dr. Patterson listened without judgment. And you've never felt this way before? This kind of certainty about something you had no logical reason to believe? No, never. Any other changes? Personality, memory, coordination? The headaches are new, really bad. And I've been more emotional maybe, but that's because of the baby. The baby, your wife has confirmed, doesn't exist, Dr. Patterson said gently. 6 negative tests, correct? Mark's jaw tightened. Tests can be wrong. They can. But 6 negatives, combined with regular menstruation, is pretty definitive. She turned to her computer. I'd like to run some tests, an MRI specifically. Today, if possible. An MRI? Mark looked between us. You think there's something wrong with my brain? I think your symptoms warrant investigation. Sudden onset delusions combined with severe headaches can indicate several conditions, some treatable. I'd rather rule things out than wait. How fast can you get him in? I asked. Let me make some calls. She left us in the exam room. Mark stared at his hands. They think I'm crazy, he said quietly. They think you're sick. That's different. Is it? Yes. I took his hand. Mark, whatever this is, we'll handle it. Together. The MRI was scheduled for 5 that evening. We killed time in the hospital cafeteria, neither of us eating much. Mark ordered a salad for me without asking, the kind with lots of vegetables and protein. For the baby, he said, then caught himself. Sorry, I know you don't think there's a baby, but if there is, even a small chance, I want to make sure you're both taken care of. I ate the salad without argument. What did it matter? The MRI took an hour. I waited in a room with fluorescent lights that buzzed and magazines from 6 months ago. When Mark emerged, he looked pale. Claustrophobic, he explained. I didn't expect that. Dr. Patterson met with us 2 hours later with the results on a screen. She didn't waste time. There's a mass, she said, pointing to a spot on the scan that looked darker than the surrounding tissue. Here, in the right frontal lobe. It's small, about 2 centimeters, but it's positioned in an area that can affect personality, decision-making, and perception. Mark stared at the screen. A mass? You mean a tumor? Most likely. We'll need a biopsy to know for certain what kind, but yes. The room felt airless. I reached for Mark's hand, found it shaking. Is it... He couldn't finish the question. It's operable. The position is tricky, but our neurosurgeon is excellent. The real question is whether it's malignant or benign. Either way, it needs to come out. How soon? I managed to ask. I'd like to schedule surgery within the week. The sooner the better, given the symptoms. The tumor is putting pressure on parts of the brain that control a lot of important functions. The longer it's there, the more risk of permanent damage. Mark's hand in mine had gone cold. Permanent damage? Unlikely if we move quickly, but these things are unpredictable. Dr. Patterson's voice was kind but firm. I know this is a lot to process. I'm going to have our oncologist and neurosurgeon come talk to you both. They'll explain the next steps. She left. Mark and I sat in chairs that were too hard, under lights that were too bright, processing information that was too enormous. The baby thing, Mark said slowly. That was the tumor? Sounds like it. So you were right. Mark. No, you were right. He looked at me, and his eyes were clear suddenly, clearer than they'd been in days. I'm sorry, Jess. God, I'm so sorry. I've been acting crazy. You've been sick. It's not the same thing. I scared you. His voice broke. I could see it in your eyes, how scared you were, and I couldn't stop. Couldn't make myself believe you. The certainty felt so real. That's what tumors can do. It wasn't you, Mark. It was something in your brain lying to you. We held each other in that awful exam room while doctors moved in the hallways outside and machines beeped their endless rhythms. The relief of having an answer mixed with terror about what came next. Surgery. The word felt huge and sharp. Someone was going to cut into my husband's skull and remove a piece of his brain. I'm going to be okay, Mark thud against my hair. I have to be. We have too much life left to live. You're going to be fine, I agreed, making my voice certain even though nothing felt certain anymore. The next week passed in a blur of consultations and pre-op appointments. The tumor was benign, they determined, not cancer. That word alone made me sob with relief in a hospital bathroom while Mark got blood work done. Benign meant it wouldn't spread, wouldn't kill him, but it still needed to come out. Surgery was scheduled for Thursday morning. Wednesday night, we lay in bed not sleeping, both of us staring at the ceiling. What if I'm different after? Mark asked. What if they take out the tumor and take out part of me too? Then I'll love whatever version of you comes out, but you'll still be you, the important parts. How do you know? Because the important parts aren't in that 2-centimeter spot. They're everywhere. Your kindness, your terrible jokes, the way you cry at dog food commercials. That's all you, not some cluster of cells. He turned to look at me. I really thought there was a baby. It felt so real, Jess, like a certainty that had always existed. I know. Part of me is mourning it, even knowing it was never real. Is that crazy? No, it's human. Do you want kids, eventually? Yes, when you're healthy, when we're ready, really ready. Okay, he pulled me closer. That's something to look forward to then, after. There was so much weight in that word, after. Thursday morning came cold and gray. We arrived at the hospital at 6, went through the pre-op routine in a daze. Mark in a gown that tied in the back, me in the same clothes I'd slept in because I couldn't muster the energy to care. The surgeon came by, confident and calm, explaining the procedure one more time. 4 to 6 hours. They'd shave part of his head, remove a piece of skull, extract the tumor, put everything back. Simple. Routine. Except it was Mark's brain they'd be cutting into. I'll see you after, Mark said when they came to wheel him away. See you after, I echoed. Then he was gone, and I was alone in a waiting room with 4 other people who all looked like they were living their own nightmares. I called Sarah, called Mark's parents, who were driving in from 3 hours away, texted my own mother, who offered to fly out. I told her to wait, see how the surgery went first. 6 hours, they'd said. Could be 4, could be 8. It was 7. 7 hours of watching the clock, drinking bad coffee, pretending to read magazines. 7 hours of imagining everything that could go wrong. Finally, the surgeon emerged in scrubs, pulling off her cap. It went well, she said, and I could breathe again. We got the entire tumor, clean margins, no complications. He's in recovery now. When can I see him? Soon. He'll be groggy, probably won't make much sense for a while, but he came through beautifully. They let me into recovery 30 minutes later. Mark lay in a bed surrounded by monitors, head wrapped in bandages, and he looked so pale against the white sheets I thought he was dead for one horrible second. Then his eyes opened. Hey, he mumbled, voice thick. Did they get it? They got it, all of it. Good. His eyes drifted closed. That's good. He slept. I sat beside him and held his hand and cried quiet tears of relief while machines beeped their steady reassurance. He was okay. He was going to be okay. Recovery was slow but steady. Mark came home after 3 days, moving carefully, still wearing bandages, joking weakly about his new scar. The doctors monitored him closely, watching for complications. There were none. Slowly, carefully, he healed. The change was subtle at first. The headaches disappeared. His certainty about the phantom pregnancy faded like a half-remembered dream. He was calmer, more himself, with occasional gaps in memory from the tumor period that frustrated him. I bought baby clothes, he said one evening, finding the onesie in the closet. I really did that. You did. I'm sorry, Jess, for all of it. Stop apologizing. You were sick. You're better now. That's what matters. We settled into a new normal. Work, recovery, quiet evenings, learning to be us again without the shadow of delusion hanging over everything. Mark's hair grew back over the scar. The bandages came off. Life moved forward. 3 months after the surgery, I woke up feeling nauseous. tired, off in a way I couldn't name. Mark noticed immediately. "You okay?" "Just tired, probably coming down with something." But the tiredness persisted, and the nausea, and a weird sensitivity to smells. For 3 days I ignored it, chalking it up to stress or a bug. Then Sarah said it over lunch. "You're pregnant." "I'm not." "Jess, trust me, I've been there. You're pregnant." I bought a test on the way home, peed on it in our bathroom with shaking hands, set it on the counter and walked away because I couldn't watch. Came back 2 minutes later. 2 lines, dark and unmistakable. I stared at it, then took another test. Same result. A third. Positive. Absolutely, undeniably positive. Mark came home to find me sitting on the bathroom floor, 3 positive tests lined up on the counter. "Jess?" He looked from me to the tests. His face went white. "Is this real?" "It's real." "You're sure? Because if this is some kind of joke after everything that happened..." "It's not a joke. I'm pregnant, Mark. Actually pregnant." He sat down beside me on the bathroom floor, and we both stared at the tests like they might disappear. "How?" he asked. "When?" "The usual way, probably a few weeks ago, right around when you started recovery. Right around when I was convinced you were pregnant with a baby that didn't exist." He started to laugh, slightly hysterical, but genuine. The universe has a sick sense of humor. "Tell me about it." We sat there, laughing and crying, and trying to process this twist that felt too ironic to be real. After everything, after the tumor and the delusion and the surgery, now there actually was a baby. "Are you happy?" Mark asked quietly. I thought about it. Thought about the timing and the fear and the uncertainty. Thought about Mark's scar and the hospital vigils and the terror of almost losing him. Thought about the future, suddenly real in a way it hadn't been before. "Yeah," I said. "I'm happy. Terrified, but happy." "Me too." He pulled me close on that bathroom floor, and we held each other while the positive tests sat on the counter like the universe's punchline. The baby Mark's brain had invented didn't exist. But this one did. This one was real. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Would you have handled the tumor situation differently? Or does finding out you're actually pregnant after that nightmare feel like closure or just more complexity?